Hi, the purpose of this video is to help you understand how to complete the rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock assignment. I'm going to walk you through the template that I provided on Blended Schools. You should use this template to actually write your program. You don't have to write it from scratch. Just fill in the template in the ways that I'm going to show you. So let's get started. So the first thing you need to notice is all the comments in the template. They're there to help you understand what you need to type, what you need to code where to make the game work. So the first idea is that we have this association between each of the items in rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock with a number. Okay, and so you don't need to create any variables to hold this information. You just need to realize that again, there's this association. 0 is rock, 1 is Spock, 2 is paper, etc. And those values need to be those exact values with those exact items in order for this to work, because it works on a little bit of math called modular arithmetic. And so in order to use the modular arithmetic correctly in this program, the numbers have to be the way they are specified here. Okay, and then underneath that, the next thing you see is that we want to write a function, right? It says write your name to number function below. Okay, so how do we do that, right? What I mean is I want you to create a new function called name to number that accepts a parameter called name, right? So you can remember from your previous assignments and previous work that we start that with a def, right? So def name to number, right? So that's our function name, and I want it to take in a parameter, and we're going to call that parameter name. Okay. Remember, every function has a colon at the end of its defining line. And again, here the idea is that this function should convert the name to a number using an if, elif, else, and return the result. Now, we haven't really talked a lot in class about ifs and elifs and else statements, but here's how they work. What we want to do is test this name. So we're going to send in a name, and maybe that name is lizard, right? And if the name is lizard, we want to return the number associated with lizard, which in this case is 3. So here's how that goes. We'll start with rock, actually. So we'll say if, and then we put in our condition. So if the name is equal to the string rock, okay, colon, then we want to return the number associated with rock, which is 0. So this will now return the right number associated with that name. Okay, and notice here the double equals. So when we're comparing two values, we use a double equals instead of a single equals. Single equals is for assigning a value to a variable. Okay, so what if it's not rock? Well, that's when we use our else if, and the way we abbreviate that is we say elif. That means else if the name is equal to, let's say, Spock, right? Well, then we want to return the value associated with Spock, which is 1. So return 1. What if it's neither of those? Well, then we say else if elif name is equal to paper. Now, capitalization matters. You might want to pay attention to that as you decide how you name rock and paper. So I have Spock capitalized, but I have rock not capitalized. You capitalize all of them, but just be aware that that matters. Here we would return 2, right? And so on. So you can complete the rest of that function, and hopefully that helps you understand what it does. Okay. The next function is the reverse, right? It's the number to name function, and it does the opposite, right? And we're using these as helper functions to help us play the game. So it might not be clear why we need these functions just yet, but as you go down to actually develop the game, you'll see why we want those. So the next function, number to name, should take the same kind of structure as this one, only we're going to test the number to see if it's a certain number and return the name back, right? So I think you should be able to do that. Just realize we'd be saying here, instead of if name equals rock, we'd be saying if number equals 0, and we'd return the string rock in quotation marks. Okay. This last function is the function that actually runs the game. This is the big function, the function that does all the work. Notice it takes in a parameter called player choice. So the player choice is either going to be rock, paper, scissors, lizard, or Spock. and then we're going to get a computer choice at random and compare and see who wins. Okay, so just pay close attention to the comments here, right? So the first one says delete the following pass command. This pass just makes it so it compiles. We want this to run without any errors, and if you don't have something here as a line, then it'll give you an error. So as soon as you're ready to write this function, get rid of this pass. Okay, and then it says print a blank line, so you know how to do that. We just say print. If you don't want to print, if you just want to print a blank line, you can just have a print statement with nothing in it, and that'll print a blank line. And the reason we want that is to space out if we play multiple games. Print out a message for the player's choice. All I mean by that is print the player chose, right? And then you can say plus and then player choice. So our player choice is going to be a string. Okay, the string rock, paper, scissors, lizard, or Spock. So we're going to print that. Convert the player's choice to a number using the function name to number. Okay, so name to number, we're now going to use that function to tell the number of the choice. So we want to store that. We want to create a variable. Let's say like player number is a good idea for a good variable name. And we'd say equals the name to number of the string that the player chose. Well, what's the string that the player chose? Player choice. Okay. And now we have that number. Then we want to compute a random guess. It says using random.randrange. You can look that up or ask me if you're having trouble with using that. Notice that's going to be a number, right? So we're going to say computer number, and so that number better be 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, because those are the values that are valid values for rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. And then we want to compute the or figure out the name that is associated with that random number. And then we want to print out the computer's choice, right? Comp choice that we just returned from number to name. And then we want to do this math. Now you want to do the reading on the assignment to make sure you understand how that works. And if you don't, just call me over and I'll help you with that. And then determine the winner. Okay. Now lastly, this is a function, so by itself it doesn't do anything. We have to actually call that function. And so the last lines down here, for testing, I've tried 5 calls with all the different possible player choices. Okay, so the result should look something like this, right? So this says welcome to rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. Player chose rock, computer chose lizard, player won, right? Player chose Spock, computer chose lizard, player lost, right? They both chose paper, it's a tie, right? So there's some randomness there, and it should do the right thing given the right inputs. Okay. If you have any questions about how to do the rest of this, just give me a holler. I'll come over and help you. All right. Thanks.